International observers teams have started releasing their preliminary statements about the conduct of the governorship and state assembly elections. The European Union Election Observation Mission to Nigeria says the election was marred by multiple cases of thuggery and voter intimidation, as well as vote buying. The chief observer said that there were reports of irregularities and electoral violence across the country. He said this limited the free expression of the will of the voters. The EU mission also observed that female politicians lacked the opportunity to compete within the party structure, let alone stand as candidates.
Our observers noted that in several states, the abuse of incumbency gave an undue advantage to the party in power and limited the free expression of the will of the voter. Positively, voters in 15 out of 28 states benefited from professionally organised media debates, during which journalists questioned lead gubernatorial candidates on issues of local concern, while fact-checkers probed their responses for accuracy. It helped voters to make a better informed choice on election day, even if most incumbents rebuffed media offers. Unfortunately, attacks and harassment of journalists that occurred on the 25th of February went unprosecuted. I would hope that those who assault journalists, as well as those who perpetrated such attacks during this Saturday's polls, will be brought to justice.
Joining us now on the show to discuss the election violence in the just concluded Governorship and State House of Assembly is Omotshola Iseli, MFR, a Nigerian flutist with cross-cultural Ishekiri and Swiss roots. Good morning and welcome to Nigeria Decides 2023 on Arise News.
Good morning and thank you very much for inviting me, because we are all glued to the televisions watching Arise News, because you are saying it how it is. So I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Iseli. But let me start with a general question. I mean, you've been around here in this country for decades.
I was born in Nigeria, Lagos.
Okay, so you've seen Nigeria during its high moments, low moments. But with regard to elections, what are the big impressions for you in this process, this 2023 process, from Presidential National Assembly to House of Assembly and the governorship elections? International observers have said the process has not met the expectations of Nigerians. Well, has it met your own expectations?
Thank you very much. The presidential election in my area, I built my house in '82 in Okota-Ago, and I am quite prominent there. I have a beautiful place. In my street, there's a polling booth, and I make sure everybody's comfortable. We have gates right and left, so my street was okay. Presidential election, we had in my street 186 votes for Labour, and I think 16 or 17 for APC. And it was all over Okota-Ago the same. Labour, 300–400% more. Now, I had a phone call last week, Wednesday, by a gentleman who said, Timak, please, I want you to make sure you have security in your area, because I just attended a meeting at the Mushin local government. There were APC top people there, there were ballets, kings, and it was decided that we're going to disturb Okota-Ago Palace Way to Festag, because we are not pleased to see that 80–90% of that area voted Labour. So I asked him and say, what do you suggest? He said, please inform the police, inform Labour, you must tighten up the security. Also, he said, I have just seen the result sheets of the election. I said, how is that possible? How are we going to accept? I said, well, they said, if we don't like it, we can go to court. And he told me something like that area will have 48,000 APC voters, maybe 24,000 for Labour. And that's what I saw on your television yesterday. But in actual fact, we were prepared. So we collected the pink sheet of every polling station in the area to see that everywhere Labour was 300–400% more than APC. So now to declare those numbers to me is very fraudulent. But let me go back to the violence. In my street, they voted nicely. I quickly went back inside my house, and I was called out. Tima, come out. In the next street, Vaidiakande, they are beating people up. They are destroying the booths. So I love dogs. I took 2 boys, and with 8 dogs, big ones, I rushed down next street, and people all scattered when they saw me. About 30, 40 Agberos ran away. They threw sticks, they threw bottles at me and my boys. One of my boys got injured face and back, and we chased them to Taiwo Street up into the swamp area. I was so angry. Later on I thought, that was risky what I did. But when you're angry, you don't give a damn. And people were there dispersing. Now what I experienced in the last election was people were scared to come out because they heard there's troubles everywhere. Afterwards, I took my time. I went to different areas. I saw the carnage. Windows of houses smashed, boots on the floor in the gutter. I will supply you with some of the videos. People cut and injured. Why do we need a war where this should be a peaceful election? You are bringing some of the videos to your television station, but the amount of injured people which went to the hospital next day, we are still collecting all that information.
So you're saying the numbers that have emerged from Saturday is underreported, as you have seen even more than the figures that you've seen
of course.
On the news.
And when the pink sheets are being taken to court and we can prove actually the right numbers, you will see that I'm right.
Okay, so let's talk about this warning you got as to the potential violence that would erupt in your area. Did your group report to security agencies? If you did, what was the response like? And on the day of elections, because what the security agencies had assured Nigerians is that they'd identified hot spots and they were going to deploy their officials to those areas. Did you feel supported or protected by security agencies?
I immediately informed the Labour Party campaign organization, because I'm on the advisory board, and PA to Gbadebo immediately took it up. She informed the state security, the army and the police that Okota Ago Palace Way needs protection. There's no protection. It was like they collided in staying off. They wanted the intimidation to happen. They wanted people to stay in. Because if everybody would have come out to vote, the result would have been tremendous in the favor of Labour. So I am very disappointed. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I'm disappointed that the security was not there. At the Okota runabout, there was one tank by the army parked. That's the only security we had for Mushin to Festag.
They respond at all, even though they had just one. So you just had the
later on, a police patrol came to the next street, picked up the INEC officer and the boxes and disappeared. They didn't even vote there. And we still see the result as completed and voted. And in many places they did not vote. So where do the results come from? They were all prepared in advance.
I mean, a lot of shocking revelations going on here, but I want to quickly just take you through the incident in Okota.
Yeah.
Was it when voting started that the skirmish started, or was after people voted in the second street?
It was when people came out to vote that somebody, the APC representative, I don't want to know his name, I saw him on one street giving orders, and I put one of my boys near him to listen, how he ordered Agberos, go on there, you have to fight them there, please move over there. It was orchestrated. They want the people to go back home. Don't come out and vote. We don't want you to vote. And those who came out had to run for their life.
So
it was orchestrated.
There was a person orchestrating all of this, talking to other people and all of that. So what did that now have as an effect on those areas that you said the party you support had won before now?
The effect was that people did not come out as during the presidential election. And those who came out to vote, either they could not even find a place to vote, because the boxes were destroyed, or they were driven back home. So the outcome was very poor in the whole area.
Well, Mr. Iseli, one big issue in Lagos State was ethnic profiling.
That's right.
Non-indigenous were forewarned to stay at home. So it took a lot of courage for you to go out with your dogs. And I thought the police had warned that nobody should come out with dogs on election day.
That is a good one. I had some very negative messages. Timak, you should be prosecuted because you came out. I said I did not come out to secure my pulling boot with my dog. I came out when I was called there's serious problem to drive them away. My dogs were on leashes. They did not attack anybody. It was to drive 30, 40 negative criminals, Agbero, out of the area. That's what I did.
Okay, but I wanted you to comment on the ethnic baiting, ethnic profiling, and, non-indigenous being specifically targeted.
Yeah. I am half Shakiri. I'm a proud Shakiri, half Swiss. And I'm quite well known in my area, so people know I'm a Nigerian. Many Igbos have bought properties in Okota, Ago, and that's why also the area has been neglected for many years. As an example, we built the Bayo Oyewole Street for 100 million ourselves. And one day I went to Laos, I even saw in the budget that there was maintenance for that street we never got. So I live peacefully together with Yorubas, with Igbos, with everybody, because my stepfather was Yoruba, Semobolaji Benkantoni. The husband of my sister, Okobi, is Yoruba. Half of my family are Yorubas. We live in peace together. Even in every band I had Yorubas, Igbos, peacefully. We never had an argument. For me, this ethnic problem is new. I actually had never experienced it before, and I hope this will end and we get back to the peaceful living together. Because Nigeria is a great nation, and I'm not pleased what is happening, and the world is watching it. I have a little bit international publicity. I got phone calls and messages from around the world, and I would say to everybody, let's sort it out peacefully in the court. I advise all the young people, everybody watching me, stay peacefully at home. There's no need for protest. There's no need for going into the street, because we can solve it in the courts. We cannot have more killings, more destructions because of an election. What has happened is enough. That's my advice.
All right. It's interesting you say that this is the first time you're experiencing ethnic profiling, because some people have said that it is the usual modus operandi during election season. Use ethnic or ethnicity as a bait or a weapon to divide people, and then at elections, 4 years later, we're back to it. However, they said, or what observers have also mentioned, is that in this particular election cycle, it's possibly the worst experience that people have had. It was used prior to elections, amplified, it was exacerbated during the gubernatorial elections from presidential, and we are still seeing the aftermath of it, in terms of comments made by people, even prominent figures, or like Mr. Bayo Ononuga of the Tinubu Campaign Council, speaking about, making statements that could be seen as divisive. But in terms of the impact of the healing you talk about, what Nigerians are also saying is, or some Nigerians are saying, is that how do we begin to heal without justice? And that this healing might never even happen because they've seen the true state of things. But you're pushing for reconciliation, healing, peaceful, no protest. And how do you marry that? I don't know if you've heard people talk about these conversations being had, because healing, they say, would happen when there's a sense of justice, or there's even an ownership of wrong. But there's yet no ownership of wrong in some quarters. People are defending their statements. How do we then begin to heal or repair what has been broken?
Thank you very much. You are very wise, because you said some very interesting points you had. You see, if we now let the courts and experts take it up, like fingerprint experts will come in. We can prove that Some people printed thousands and thousands. And you remember a couple of years back, some states were won back with that evidence. If we can now, as we do in labor, go into server and prove the manipulation legally and get it notarized by courts and present it to the tribunal, then we do a real step forward. There's no need at this moment now to fight and make it worse. I agree, many people are angry. I'm angry too, because in 2019, it was not as bad. This has been the worst election I've seen in my life. And the presidential election was not as bad as this election. It was like APC did not want to lose Lagos for any cost. They let, during the presidential election, Labour have a small margin of more votes for Lagos. We know we had a landslide, and we will prove it. But at this stage now, we have to consider, is Nigeria going to fall apart because of this? Are we intelligent enough to realize that we are one nation with tremendous tribes? Do you know, I used to say, when I travel around the world, I'm a flautist. I play for kings, beggars, emperors, and I used to always say, when they say, Timak, you're a Nigerian? I said, yes, I am a proud Nigerian. We have the most diverse cultures in the world. There's no other country which has our culture, our diversity, our different kinds of food, dressing, music. People come here and love Nigeria. The Jacksons fly in here because they are Yorubas and they love it. I brought in many, many musicians, many stars. They come to Nigeria because Nigeria has something to offer. But we must have the right leadership. We cannot have people ruling us which we don't like, people we did not vote for. 10% of votes may be brought in Alhaji Tinubu. Is it okay for him to rule a country where only about 10% voted for him? It will be difficult. But again, we should not become a Rwanda. We have to learn. We have to learn of what has happened before. And I'm speaking to everybody, let's maintain peace. Our leader, Peter Obi, is a great human being. I've known him for many years. I'm close to Atiku, who I know since the 70s. You know, Alhaji Tinubu is actually my in-law. So I respect them. Let the followers listen to the advice of stay peaceful. It was a very, very disturbing governor election, especially in Lagos. But should we now continue on that level? Should we not prove we are not Akberos, we are not hooligans? No, we have learned something. Let's plaster our wounds, let's think and do the legal way. That's my advice.
So you made mention of Alhaji Tinubu, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being president, and these are videos of you and your dogs, you know, coming to restore our calm. Quite very brave of you, because you're not a young man yourself. You're in your late 70s, mid 70s, yes. 75 thereabouts. So, what advice would you have, you know, for the president-elect at this point in time, and probably the governor of Lagos State, where all of this chaos happened, and also political leaders in general, that where all this chaos, because it didn't happen only in Lagos, it happened everywhere in the country. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give them as we speak now? Because a lot of people are still hurt. And like I said rightly, people are not even owning to the fact that they did injustice to other people. And you see, you talked about court. A lot of people feel like you are mocking them when you say go to court. Because why? We have seen beyond reasonable doubts many times that the court doesn't give justice based on, you know, whatever it is. So you say, oh, when they say go to court, they're just mocking you because they know you will not get anything in the court. Justice will not be done. So people are like, why should we even trust the process, the legal process in the first place?
I had a couple of court cases in my life, and 2, 3, I was disappointed by the church in charge not actually even studying the case. It was just kind of wishy-washy. But I had cases where I had to say to myself, we have justice in Nigeria, by good judges, precise, etc. Now, the tribunal case will be watched by the whole world. And that may be our plus point. Because you cannot, when the evidence is overwhelming, when forensic evidence is there, when everything is presented, you cannot rule against what has been presented. You understand what I mean? You can. If you do so, means we will declare a banana republic. Investors will not come in, and we will go into worse than in which we are at the moment. So the judges, the tribunal, the leaders of the parties have to realize that the future of Nigeria is somehow at stake. Because if you rule something against the evidence, means Nigeria is gone. I'm not saying at this moment that I know who won. Even I think I know. I'm saying let's watch what the judges and the court come up with. Let's watch very carefully. Let's look at the evidence which PDP and Labour Party is presenting to the court. You know, there are many intelligent people in this country you cannot fool. Some people are brainwashed by being too much APC, too much PDP, too much whatever. But let them also reflect. Am I cheering a presidential president-to-be just because I'm a party member? Am I cheering something which is not correct? Let people think.
All right, we have someone joining us from the Abuja studio, so let me just bring him in to join the conversation.
Thank you.
So to further this conversation, we have from our Abuja studio, Yunusa Tanko, Labour Party spokesperson. Good morning and thank you for joining us on Nigeria Decides 2023.
Well, Yunusa Tanko, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, well, let me ask you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, the Labour Party has been alleging that in this entire process, in parts of the country, that there has been collusion between INEC and the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress. And we're aware that the Labour Party has gone to court to challenge the outcome of the presidential election. But what's your take on the governorship and the House of Assembly elections, particularly the conflict that we have seen in Abia and Enugu between Labour Party and other political parties over the integrity of the outcomes? That's to bring you in. And then when you finish, I would like to ask Mr. Iseli. Yes, you've talked about the presidential election. You've talked about the elections in Lagos. I'd like to have your take on the elections in your home state of Delta State. What you think of that and the announcement of Sharif Oborowori, the Speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly, as the winner. But Yunusa Tanko, let me start with you. Labour Party and the grievances of the party.
Thank you very much. What you stated gone beyond the conspiracy against the Labour Party is against the state itself. The conspiracy is against the Nigerian state and its people. A group of people have decided to choreograph themselves into a block, prepare a script, pre-election, during election, and post-election. What you are seeing at the moment now has not stopped yet because they have already orchestrated their plans to execute this particular heinous crime against the Nigerian state, which of course, we are seeing unfolding gradually. Let me start with the issue of the pre-election. Pre-election, there are investments already being made. This is not a blunt allegation. There are investments being made involving the security agency, involving the INEC itself, involving some politicians, and at the same time, some gullible electorate. That was the pre-planned election. During the election, it was executed by intimidation, harassment, killing and maiming, and disdain that which they held the Nigerian people. No wonder what you saw in the election result uploading, where 3 elections took place. The Federal House of Reps, the Senate, and then the presidential election. Now you can upload the result of the Federal House of Representatives, and you can upload the result of the Senate, and you cannot upload the result of the presidential election. This was a brutal, open murder against the interests of the Nigerian state, instituted by a group of people looking at you. Look, we have done what we want to do. You can go to anywhere you're going to go to. We are not perturbed. We are not disturbed at all. And most disturbing, we have a situation in our hands where agitation are being made by different groups of people and different tribes, rightfully or arguably so. For me, it has been the interest of building a nation that all of us has a fair, equity, and justice to exalt what will come as our union. And that is the reason why, long even before Peter Gregory Obi ran for election as a presidential candidate, Tanko and some other people in the northern part of this country endorsed the candidate of an Igbo extraction, not because of the ethnic group, but because we feel that it is the right time to unite this country. And don't forget, we have a similar situation where we have MKO Abiola, a person of a Yoruba extraction, who ran for election, and there's a cabal who denied that particular person from being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We lost a lot of lives, and that was the beginning of the OPC. And when we had that particular situation, it was just 8 years. If Abiola had ruled this country, he would have long forgotten that he has ruled this country. But it was denied. But can you imagine the quantum of the people that lost their lives at that particular point in time? I grew up in Idiaraba. The house I grew up in Lagos up till now is still standing there, destroyed. I was there some couple of days ago. That repair has not even been made. So that is to tell you the kind of level of destruction that was done in that year. Unfortunately, those who are actually organizing this particular heinous crime against the Nigerian state do not know the consequence of the result of what they are doing. What they are interested in is manipulating the minds of the Nigerian people, telling them that no, it's a game of numbers, and then we have the numbers, we have the power, we have the money, we have already manipulated the system. You can go to court and then nothing will happen. That is a dangerous perception that nothing will happen. Because as we speak now, the Nigerian people, especially the Nigerian youth, who we have completely annihilated and forgotten for a point in time, but they have come back believing in the system, a rule and regulation that already been imbibed and instituted by the electoral empire, which of course ab initio was already been orchestrated by this pre-election strategy that was being done by this particular group of people. But the danger here is that they don't even know exactly what may result to. Today, we have seen Nigerians destroying their passports. We are seeing Nigerians already, especially the youth, preparing to go onto the streets. Whether we try to stop them or not, they are ready to go all the hope because they have lost hope. The hope that was already being built in them has been lost. Now, that was the resultant of what you saw in the state assembly and the governorship election. People who believe that the IRF and the beavers and all of those ones will work. And let me make a clarification here. Many people are saying that probably the beavers did not work. No, the beavers worked. What was done was that there's a fraudulent criminal intention by some group of people who stopped it from doing what it's supposed to do. It wasn't as if the beavers did not work. But some people criminally, intentionally, and openly did that to hurt the Nigerian people, and then you beat a child and you are saying that you should not cry. It is completely wrong. So the post-election is what we are here now, after both the presidential election and the state assembly and the governorship election. As we speak, some people are already on the street. Yes, you may say our presidential candidate have made it very clear that we are not violent. We want to make sure that we stop people from going onto the streets. But the right of the person who you have annihilated and stopped and intimidated and harassed and insulted with a lot of disdain, with a lot of decay in the minds of the Nigerian people, and you're expecting them not to say anything? Are you being fair to yourself? So now, the onus now lies on the judiciary. That is the last hope. Of course, these are also part of the orchestrated plan. Because already, they are already assumed that there are people, even though we believe in the judiciary, and we want to appeal to our judicial leaders. This is the time in which to save this country. We have tried in our own best as a people. We have already given you a political party. We have given you a quality an unequivocal, unquantifiable character of a person. Both of them are qualified to lead this country and change it from a docile country to a progressive country. And that is Peter Obi and Deti Baba Ahmed. We have done our best as a group of politicians who believe in the system. Look at our track records. We've been there for years. Ruben Bati, you can attest to it. And we've been consistent. Now, here, the people have also come into this particular narrative. They've agreed that, look, you have come out with some of the best. Let us go in and vote. They came out and vote. You denied them. Now, the only opportunity left is for those people who have that particular wig and then long rope to decide the fate of this country and do what is right. Because their action and inaction will determine the next action that the Nigerian people will take, especially the Nigerian youth. They are watching, and they've had this perception that the judiciary already has been bought over, which we are saying that no, we have given the judiciary the opportunity to prove itself for the interest of the Nigerian people. Now, you have people telling you that it doesn't care, they don't care. You know, the most amazing situation for me is that people who are affected most negatively, they cannot eat 3 square meals, they cannot live in their homes eyes closed, will be part of the people that will be bribed to do fake news, to forge letters. At every end of, during the period of election of our candidate, they will come out and say we have stepped down for 1A or B. Now look at the situation of the ethnic profiling that is happening in Lagos or any part of this country. I am an Hausa man, a proud one at that. And I cannot stand when somebody will profile my religion or profile me as a person. I will not agree. I will challenge it, even with my last blood. So also you expect any other group of person, rightfully so, to defend his own belief. But if you are a pious leader and you believe in this country, all you need to do is that make sure there's a level playing ground for everybody. Look, if the system has been clean and clear, there will not be any single agitation long before now, or what you are seeing today, or what you might see in the future. So these are the basic facts. Yes, please. Okay,
I would like to bring back Mr. Iseli into the conversation. Mr. Iseli, I had asked you earlier on. You've talked about your experience in Lagos. You've talked about the presidential election. What's your reaction to the latest developments in your home state of Delta, where Sheriff Obarawori has been declared governor?
I wish him well. I am also related to former Governor Ibori and Okowa. We Shakiris are intermarried, you know what I mean? And I have been watching PDP not performing too well, let's be honest. With the resources and the people, the Delta could be much more developed. It's a pity. And I just hope the new governor-elect will learn from the mistakes and do something to develop Delta State, because I'm from there. We are proud people. We love our state. But it is more than just playing politics. It is listening to the people. It is executing the projects you promised them you will do. I wish him well. But if I may mention something else quick. You know, I was part of the pre-election campaign. I was performing for Peter Obi fundraising dinners, television marathons, etc. And I watched a miracle happening. A small party without structure made a big impact and changed our political scene. And this should not just go away like that. And that's why I'm saying thank you for him mentioning about the youth coming out, etc. Peter Obi has been saying to all of us, be peaceful. Don't go in the street. You can't solve it. If the youth are angry, yes, but causing problems will not change it. As an example, I've been asked many times now, what is going to happen to all those agberos, all those hooligans who injured people? Are there going to be any prosecutions? There are enough videos and photos existing. We are passing to the state security and the police. Prosecute them. Let a few hundred of them being locked up. And then the youth will realize we have justice in Nigeria. Don't just let it go now, because next time they will do the same. They know they can get away with it.
Also, thank you very much. Let me go back to Mr. Tanko, since we have you here. We talked about what's going on in Abia State with your candidate and the announcement of the results. I'd like you to share your thoughts on the conduct of elections in that state so far, and also in Enugu State, because your candidates are in the eye of the storm. So it'd be great to hear from you in terms of how this has been handled, how the election has been handled thus far. And then for Mr. Iseli, just to speak further on reconciliation, on peace, what would be your recommendation for the way forward? I know you talked about seeking redress in the courts, towing the peaceful line, but beyond that, in terms of what the community, what government, what the people can begin to do, because what we want ultimately is a Nigeria that works and people that live together in unity. What would you recommend? I'll start with you, Mr. Tanko.
Thank you very much. Yesterday night, I was with the national chairman of the party, Barrister Julius Abure, and then he has already made some very important press statements, both video and written and in the public. Now, you don't want to hold anybody responsible for the actions of the people. In Abia State, for example, we have it on authority that the local government in question, which happen to be a large number where we have strength in, and a lot of people who have voted, it is very, very clear that the Labour Party is already way ahead in winning that particular election. Now, people are trying to manipulate that particular process by, let's give for example, if a BVAS machine recorded like you have 10 persons at the polling unit. Now, you are coming out with the result of about 36,000 people within a short period of time. How do you form a correlation with that? So it is actually subverting the will of the people and actually conniving with the security authority, and also to manipulate and already institutionalize corrupt leaders who do not have the mandate of the people. So we are resisting that. But unfortunately, INEC now is let me use the word conniving in that particular regard to prove that, okay, they are suspending election or inconclusive election, because quite honestly, it is open that we've won that particular election in Abia State. And then this is the result of a preparatory anarchy that may reign in that particular state when you announce a contradictory statement, a contradictory result as against the will of the people. The same thing is happening in Enugu. In fact, I have it on authority that already INEC was supposed to have announced that particular result. These are two states that the Labour Party has shown resilience and consistent, and at least, apart from the allocated vote that they have given us in the presidential election, we have constantly won and showing that we have won that particular election in those states. And then we are insisting that INEC should do the right thing. Otherwise, we may not be held responsible for our actions and the action of the people, because you are already denying them their presidential candidate who we believe we won election. Now you are also going down and trickling down and double downing and really pressing our neck and asking us not to respond to this particular issue. INEC should do the native and quickly announce the winner of this particular election, which we believe is Alex Oti and Edoga. Both of them have won the election in Enugu and Abia State. And so we expect a quick response, and not that as if they were going to manipulate the system and say we are going back to the poll. They should have done the same thing where we have already been annihilated and disrupted from being pronounced the election winners. So here is the two states that the Labour Party has clearly won. In fact, we believe that we will have won more states than this, but because they have not been able to actually put into place the rules, their engagement that they have put in place for everybody, they have manipulated the system, and that is worrisome for all of us. I am speaking with a lot of pain, and I know a lot of our followers are listening. Yes, we have said that there's no violence, nobody should violence, but then you have the right to stand up and do a peaceful demonstration where it's necessary to defend the interests of our candidate. We cannot allow this to continue to be, because it should be as if we are being insulted and then we are being denied the right to seek for redress.
Yes.
All right. I think second question from Mr. Iseli.
Yes, from Mr. Iseli, yes.
May I also appeal to everybody who is on the internet? Let's cool it down a bit, because I am on some very prominent WhatsApp groups. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and there are paid agents by one political party firing up the negativity I see, the fake posts promoting a specific candidate. And the moment you put up something, you have 5, 6 people talking real trash. I have checked out a couple of those because I don't want my blood pressure to go up when I read all that trash. But if we can tune down our messages on those platforms, that will help also to reduce the stress and the violence. Violence can be created on the internet. I don't know if you are on some platforms and you see what is being written. Media is very powerful. I see, as an example, me taking these dogs out. I had 90% people saying, well, it went viral, some sites 36,000, another one 24,000. I was saying, T-Mac, you are courageous, thank you, blah, blah, blah. I don't need any thank you, I didn't do it for publicity. But then when I see some very nasty remarks by paid agents, because we know that there are people paid to infiltrate and control the internet, the administrators of those WhatsApp groups should please watch it and remove the very negative posts, because it doesn't help nobody. It's making people angry. It brings up the temper again. It creates hatred. I would say the tribal problem was mostly created on the internet. That is one of the wherewithal they use to create anger.
Okay. So real quickly, also about fake news, and I'm sure you want to talk about that because they've been circulating videos of riots before in the past, and they're circulating them like they're new riots. I want you to speak to that. But Mr. Tanko, I'll come to you. Please confirm this for us. As Labour Party filed a case officially, were you able to inspect the INEC materials? Did they give you access? Please tell us about all what happened as regards checking materials and filing your case in court just before the time.
Just about last week, I'm privileged to be part of that particular legal team, being with them. We made a statement that we have been denied the opportunity of actually inspecting the materials, and then Dr. Levy, the chairman of the legal committee, led us to INEC. I was part of it. And then we met with the INEC chairman, who openly promised Nigerians that they are going to cooperate with the Labour Party and give us all documents that is required for us to prosecute our case. There was an open statement that was made by the INEC chairman, and I was there. Luckily for me, yesterday I left Lagos and I was here in Abuja. We have also, I can tell you categorically that we've already submitted and filed our case against the election that took place on the 25th of February, and this is official. And that particular filing has been done. Now, to answer your question that whether we've gotten all that were required, I will tell you no. But we've already been able to get, because right there on the day in which we visited INEC, INEC was able to give us the summary result sheet of what was pronounced on that day. So our attitude is that the lawyers have made it clear that we will get all that we can from INEC, and we will demand for the remaining documents that is required for the legal team to prosecute its case. So it's a continuous business. As of yesterday, Delefaro Timi led a lead team of lawyers to be at INEC office in Lagos to collect some of the information that we know. And this is widespread across the Federation, even though we have gotten some resistance from some of the resident electoral commissioners, citing that the Secretary of the Independent Electoral Commission has written them a letter saying that they should not certify or give any document outside what has already been uploaded at the IRF at the moment. And I don't know. At the moment now, I think some of the uploading is being done almost 2 weeks after the election. So that will tell you the contradiction and the contraption in the result sheet of the presidential election. You see, when you lie, you'll be looking for another lie to cover the first lie that you mean. And that opens room for a lot of mistakes. So we will continue to make them, in quote, both the orchestrator and then the one who actually executed the plan, to make mistakes. And this is open, and this is where that we are also calling on the judiciary, please and please. Nigeria is in your hands at the moment now. We are going to provide the necessary proof to say that that particular election was a sham one and is unacceptable by the Nigerian people. You could see it in the eyes of the Nigerian people. There's no celebration anywhere. There's no celebration. Nobody is happy. Do you want a country like this? We are at the break of almost a destructive tendency. Please and please, for the posterity and for the work of all of our past leaders, this is the time to put the right peg in the right hole and take a good stand in the interest of the Nigerian people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tanko. Your last words, T-Mac, as we wrap up.
As a proud Nigerian, I must say I'm disappointed, not just with the election, with what's going on in our country, because I have traveled all over the nation and I've seen tribes living peacefully with each other, working together, and now politics comes in and tries to disturb that peace. We should not fall apart. We have to realize that we have the right to vote and choose our leaders, because that's what democracy is all about. I don't want the youth to go out now and make it worse. The situation is already very bad, very grave. Let's sit back, reflect, and say the experts are working on it now. We will get to the root. INEC cannot continue hiding the information from the world. They can't, because the world is watching. And if it continues, then it's out of the hand of people like me in saying, please, let's be peaceful.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. T-Mac Iseli, for your insights. I guess there's also something to be said about being an in-law to the president-elect. But you are a Labour man, Labour Party person. And Mr. Tanko, thank you very much for joining us. And I see that Labour Party has been able to bring out Dele Farutime out of retirement, because you said he led a team of lawyers in this process. So when next I see him, I'll remind him that you've told us that he's out of retirement now, back in action in the courtroom. Thank you very much.
With all due respect, Abati, everybody should be out of retirement for the benefit of Nigeria. So God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you, Tanko.